Welcome, welcome, welcome. I am getting Facebook all set up and then we will chat. I want to make sure I have access to comments. I know StreamYard shows them up there, but I just want to make sure I can respond and see the Facebook comments. So give me just 1 second. For those of you joining us as a replay, this is where we're going to talk about food restrictions and whether you actually need to do them and if they're lifelong and what's the real deal. If you don't know who I am, my name is Bonnie Wilderson-Hunt. I am a holistic nutritionist, been in this field for well over 17 years. And the one thing that I am known for among friends, family, and my clients is giving you real talk. I'm not the friend you come to if you want to hear something that aligns with what you believe, what you think, unless that's factually true. I am actually that person that you come to when you want honesty and truth and reality. Can handle it. And we all know there are times that we simply cannot handle truth and reality. This isn't the place to come. You come here for truth and you come here for reality. All right, so all set up. I'm ready. You ready? All right. Now, as usual, have my notes so that my ADHD self can stay on track. This is actually one of the topics that I talk to clients a lot about, especially when we're first getting started, because 9 times out of 10, the way that I start with clients is someone who's gone to a doctor's office, and as they're walking out, the doctor says, or nurse, whoever, says, here's your list of foods. You need to give these up because of this diagnosis or this or this or this. And it can be because of sensitivities and allergy tests. A lot of times, though, when you're coming to talk to me, it's because you've been diagnosed with some sort of an autoimmune condition or dysfunction. And conventional science definitely says that you have to give up at minimum the top 8 inflammatory foods. How true is that? Have you thought about that? Like we follow all of these diet trends and we look at things and say, okay, well, this is what we have to do and this is what we have to do. And in reality, is that really true? That's what we're going to talk about today. So let's start just with what happens when you come to work with a health coach or a nutritionist from holistic science. I work in holistic natural science. I believe in functional nutrition. I believe in functional exercise and physical activity and functional lives. I believe that my role and the role of people like me is to help you implement and integrate healthier choices so that whatever you're dealing with is easier to deal with. And it's a little bit more of a instinctive subconscious process to eat, to live, to be active, etc. Right? When oh, there we go. When you are coming out of that doctor's office at first and you've got this piece of paper, it is very overwhelming. Let me just say that. Very, very, very overwhelming. And I have had more conversations with people who are in tears than I care to count. It's part of the reason I'm doing what I'm doing, because I got tired of the tears, and not tired in the sense that I'm tired of hearing the crying. I'm tired of the reason for the crying. There's no reason we should go there anymore. So let me first start with how we go about our programming. And now for everybody, it's a little bit different. There are 2 different pathways. One is somebody who has opted not to do lab testing for sensitivity. The other is somebody who has. Now, if you have opted out for sensitivities, I have you look at a food log for 3 to 5 days. We look at reactions. We look at responses in your body. We look at what's happening in your body. And we see if we can identify anything that is making itself apparent. If we can, those are the first foods that come out, and it's a process of removing those foods for 21 days. Dairy is 23, and incorporating them slowly back in so that as you eat these foods, you're able to see what your response is, okay? If you have done testing, we have a list, and we go through a list of the top rated. Now with the testing I like, the one that I really like is Check My Body Health. Their top of the line is really not that expensive, especially if you can get it on sale, and right now they're up and coming, so it's almost constantly on sale. They test 900 different markers. Sound overwhelming? In the 63-page report that I received, and if anybody would like to see my report, I'm happy to share that. What I might do is pop on here one day and do a recording where we go through just the pages that I use, how I use it, and why I use it the way that I do. Because you may be just like me, where you like to do things on your own, and that can be really helpful. So out of that 63-page report that I have, there are 3 pages that I use. And these 3 pages have lists of foods. Now I think there's like 4 or 5 columns, and next to each one is a red, yellow, or green dot. Red means it's got to go now. Yellow means there might be an issue here, and green is we saw nothing. When you look at your red and your yellows, there are 3 different ways that those can manifest themselves inside your body. One is, yes, a true sensitivity. The second is a sensitivity only because you are also eating X food, and because of X food, your body isn't able to metabolize and digest the food in question as well as easy, okay? There may not even be an issue. You may not have an issue with that food, but it is presenting itself because of your consumption of that food with this food, okay? And I would love to tell you guys that there is an overriding majority that this food shouldn't combine with this food, blah, blah, blah. Every single person I have ever worked with has been different. So there's no majority. This is all bio-individuality, and we will get into what that is in just a little bit. The third way is that there isn't really a sensitivity, but for whatever reason, your body has decided that it needs to ramp up a response and state that it is a sensitivity, react and respond as though it's a sensitivity, even though it is not. How do you correct all of those? Elimination. However, before you scream and run for the hills and say, no, she's going to tell me to get rid of all my foods and it's going to be torture, and hell no, I am out. Peace. See ya. Before you do that, I am not talking about a full elimination diet. When I work with people, we go slow and steady, and here's why. If you are diagnosed with a chronic illness, an autoimmune dysfunction, or you're fighting sensitivities and allergies that are unknown, doing something as drastic as going straight into the AIP, which if you don't know what that is, it's autoimmune protocol. Going straight into that can throw your body into shock. Trauma in our body is not always an injury or, you know, a severe loss or surgery or anything like that. It's not always that component. Trauma can actually be something as simple as you go from eating processed foods all the time to eating healthy foods. And if you are not fighting any sort of condition that was derived from stress, chronic illness, autoimmune dysfunction, sensitivities, allergies, intolerances, stress leads to all of those. Okay, and we talked about this last week and the week before when we did mindset, remember, 70%, 65 to 70% is in our control. We are the primary stockholders. Now, what that means is when we've already reached the point of a stress condition, an inflammatory condition, we need to take a step back and we need to do things a little differently, not have them so drastic. Drastic equates to more stress, more overwhelm. It's really not necessary because in a lot of times, or a lot of cases, we can take those lists of foods, those red, yellow, and green. We can identify the things that you look at and go, oh, wait, yeah, you know, I did respond poorly here, here, and here when I had that. So we should get rid of that first. What typically happens is I take 5 foods out of the diet for 3 weeks. Yes, it is a longer process. Yes, it takes time. But you didn't get here overnight. And by removing just 5 foods at a time, the people I've worked with, including myself, have begun to feel better, healthier, not as sick, almost overnight. And the craziest part about that is taking just 5 foods at a time out as you're trying to figure out what you're actually responding to. It takes a load off your body. So our body are protective. I mean, we've talked about the brain being an overprotective, right? Your body's not that much different. It puts in protective mechanisms. Okay, if it's telling you that there's an issue and you're not listening, then it's going to start protecting itself. All right. Now, when that happens, it hides responses. That's why you need to take it out, clean the slate, and put it back in. That's why that happens. That's why we do that. Okay. What that does is if you truly have a reaction, the first 2 to 3 days, you will feel something. You will see something. You will notice something is off, okay? And we take logs. I have you log everything. It is absolutely ridiculous for the first 12 weeks, but it is 12 weeks and then you are done. And typically within the first 4 to 6, we know exactly which direction we're going in. We know exactly how you're responding. And by doing it this way, it is easier on the body. The shift in the transition is just not, it's not as traumatic, it's not as stressful. You are not triggering responses. So let's say you have fibro or you have CFS or rheumatoid arthritis. Fibro and RA, oh my gosh, they are really painful conditions. If you trigger a response by doing something too drastic, now it doesn't matter if that food's in your diet or not, because your body's just trying to get back to balance. It's trying to recover from the triggered response. So going slow, you might be listening to me right now and saying, yeah, but going slow, that's going to take so much time and da. Yes, but you have 2 options when you're fighting and attempting to manage and restore homeostasis and health in the case of autoimmune or chronic illness. In those situations, you're fighting an inflammatory condition. Your body is already inflamed. It is already not happy with you. So when you go drastic, when you go directly from 0 to AIP, for instance, or 0 to Whole30, you are going to have a few weeks where your body is going to be triggered and it's going to respond. Now, autonomy states that you have the option. You don't have to go slow. You don't. You can pull out that Band-Aid, go quick, deal with it for the few weeks it's going to be painful and uncomfortable, and go full force. And in some situations, that is the best path. In those cases, my role, my job is to make it as easy and seamless as possible to be your sounding board and to give you guidance when your brain is trying to deal with the trauma and can't think anymore. My job is to make it as easy as possible, regardless of what you choose. Okay. Now, I'm hitting on diet here, right? I'm talking 0 to AIP, 0 to Whole30. The majority of America still eats the standard American diet, the Western diet. Processed foods, refined carbs, more animal products than we actually need, and it can digest and metabolize properly. Okay. When you're looking at diet, you're looking at trying to figure out what foods are going to trigger you and what foods aren't. You need to look at how you're eating, because that can actually play a much bigger role than anything. If you're eating more processed foods, for instance, and refined foods, then you are whole foods, balanced diet, your body could actually be responding to the processed ingredients inside the food that you're eating, not the actual food. So, for instance, I've had a multitude of clients. They go to the grocery store, they don't buy organic produce, and I'm not saying you have to, hear me out. They go to the store, they buy regular produce, conventional off the shelves, come home, cook it, eat it. It's fresh. It should be healthy, right? It shouldn't trigger a reaction because it didn't show up. They respond to those foods. They get sick, they have acne, they get stuffy, their eyes water, stomach cramps, gassiness, all the symptoms. Pops up with a couple of them. And now they're sitting there going, but I don't understand. It didn't show up on my report. I got rid of these foods and started eating these foods, got rid of the process and started eating this. And now I'm still responding. Because whatever they put on the produce or whatever they put in the seed to grow the produce or on the soil to grow the produce triggers a response, because it is a similar ingredient molecularly to the processed refined ingredients on the other processed foods you were eating. The fast food, the frozen products, and I don't mean frozen vegetables and stuff like that. I'm talking about the prepared foods, okay, the frozen prepared foods, especially the cheap ones. If they're cheap, there's a reason. Now, you can tell when this happens because you go off processed foods and you get organic, right? It doesn't have all the processed ingredients, it doesn't have the preservatives that grow into it, none of that. Get some organic and you have it and you don't have a reaction. That means that your report saying that you're responding to these ingredients wasn't wrong. The one thing I like about Check My Body Health is it actually goes and looks at the processed ingredients in your diet. There is a page for it. I'll have to take pictures and show you guys. But there is a page, and mine showed up as just one page, thankfully. But it shows what preservatives are in your diet, which preservatives you respond to, and respond negatively to. If you don't respond to it, or there's positive reaction, it doesn't show up on this report as a problem. It shows heavy metals, things like that, which can also be in processed foods and grown into organic conventional foods. Over the years, seeds have gotten pesticides put into them, growth hormones, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera, right? So now here we are with this food system that can be really problematic. And it's one of those things that you need to look at from a realistic perspective, okay? Be realistic with yourself and look at what your body needs. This is where bio-individuality comes in. If you have not joined me on any of the previous shows, bio-individuality is the concept that what you eat, what's in your environment, your health and genetics, what has happened to you, your body, your health, your mental state, emotions, etc., throughout your life determines what you need today as far as nutrients, stress management, activity, all the health components, all of the pillars. We talked about the pillars of health last week. Bio-individuality states that you are a unicorn. We are all unicorns. What I need does not automatically dictate what you need. It's why there's so many different diet plans and thought processes out there. I am one of the people that believe you need to listen to your diet or listen to your body, okay? And this is not 100% intuitive eating. I've had several comments where people pop in and they're like, intuitive eating. Yes and no. Intuitive eating states that what your body says is how it dictates what you respond. Listening to your body and understanding the signals means that when you hear intuitively that you need sugar or you need coffee or you need red meat, you know what that actually means. Overprotective mama up in their brain, you guys, is going to tell you you need red meat if you need iron. If you react, like I do, to beef, you can't eat beef. So you have to understand what your body is telling you, especially when emotionally you're not 100%. Because if you're not 100%, your responses using an intuitive eating philosophy, your responses are going to be skewed because emotion plays a very strong role in what the signals come out or how they're interpreted, okay? If you know by going through and dedicating time to figuring out what signals mean within your body and just use science, this signal means this, this signal means that. Those signals tell you what you need. By pulling foods out and putting them back in, you have a better understanding of why you're responding to those foods. Maybe you're getting too much of, of vitamin A and you're going to respond to carrots because the other foods that you have that you're consuming that you prefer, you've got all your vitamin A, you don't need any more. So your body is basically trying to protect you and say, no, we don't need this, so we're not going to digest it, we're not going to metabolize it, we're going to just send it out there and, tell you we're upset with you. Boom, cystic acne on your nose, cystic acne on your forehead, big old sucker on your chin. It's entirely possible. So now, obviously, healthy and balanced is what you're looking for, right? And when you're looking at food restrictions and what you give up, what you don't give up, the overriding question is, do you really have to give up foods? And hopefully by now, you're getting the gist that you don't actually have to give things up unless you respond in a way that is harmful to you. I can't have dairy. I can't. I mean, I could, but that means I'm going to be laid out for a day or two. And I'm going to have a face full of cystic acne. And, I've realized I can have a bite or two. Like the other week for my birthday, I had a bite of my chocolate chip cookie cake. Like someone got me my mother-in-law got a cookie cake for me and for my nephew. I share a weekend with many people. And we had a celebration for Grandma, whose birthday was on that Monday. And he got the big old monster cake, and oh, it's so cool, you guys. But we got a cookie cake. I'm gonna eat a bite of freaking cookie cake. I know that means I'm gonna have some acne, but I know that that one bite isn't gonna lay me out for a couple of days. And that's what I'm hoping to get across here, is 9 times out of 10, that's not a reaction. Okay, that's not a response I see in a lot of my clients. I have someone who reacts to soy, whether it is a soy preservative or it is actual soy. And the way that she responds is she bloats up. And she's not alone. She's one of like 5 or 6 people now that all of a sudden, all the weight that they've lost, it looks like it's fat. You know, it's a SIBO reaction. It's severe intestinal irritated bowel syndrome. That's what it is. And it's triggering that response. And the choice is, do I have it and respond like this, or do I avoid this to get there? Another thing that happens is you give up one ingredient, one food, and you get to have everything else, because that one food is what's pushing your body over the cliff. So when you look at food restrictions, and when you're walking out of that doctor's office, or you're Googling research and Google's telling you that everything that you're dealing with is going to lead to like imminent death, torture, we all know it's Dr. Google. Little dramatic, but you know, Dr. Google is Dr. Google, and he does give us a good overview. And yes, ladies, Google is a man, not a woman. We are the Google seller side. And with that overview, you really can feel overwhelming, and there's no need for it. So now, how does this all play out for you? But yeah, how do we go from I have this list, or I'm dealing with XXX, I know I need to do something, is it really that dramatic, to taking care of it, to understanding that the things that you have to give up are just 1 or 2 ingredients, not the 3 pages of ingredients and foods that you can get in. It's an adjustment. Everything's an adjustment, right? You can take it slow. You can go drastic. One of the things with taking it slow, there are 8 inflammatory ingredients that are common across the board. Typically, if you're coming to me and we don't know what you're dealing with, we don't know what the culprit is, we take these 8 out and slowly put them back in. Now, as I said before, when you're dealing with an inflammatory condition already, this is slightly modified, okay? We dial it back. Dairy, gluten, soy, sugar, so refined sugar, not sugars found in food. There's a difference. I'll get to that in a second. Animal products, eggs, meat, dairy. Processed foods, artificial ingredients, and refined flours, grains, etc. Refined carbs is what it's typically called. We are talking the white flour, we're talking the white rice, the white pasta. What you're looking for is whole grain, not whole wheat, not white, whole grain. Whether you're looking for gluten-free or you're looking for your regular standard old conventional bread, whole grain is what you want to see in the ingredients, okay? That tells you that this was made as it was way, way, way back when we first started making bread. And if you follow me for any length of time, I go back there a lot because we used whole foods. We didn't have the preservatives and the chemically processed and derived and artificial ingredients that is prevalent in our society today. We didn't have all that. So if we go back, obviously some adjustments, because I mean, they didn't live very long, so we don't want to follow them 100%. But looking at what they ate, seeing how it was prepared, seeing where it came from, we can take that and really implement and integrate it into our diet, our lives, help reduce stress, improve what we're eating, really boost what we're eating. Okay. Hi, Jonna. I saw you pop up. I have my screen black so the glare's on so bad. Now, with these 8 inflammatory foods, these are the ones that they have found that are common across the board, meaning more than 50% of patients, okay? Scientific studies have found that these are the foods that are the most inflammatory because of ingredients, because of how they are derived, because how they're grown, how they're produced, how they end up on our table. Now, with these inflammatory foods, you want to make sure that if you're doing this on your own and you're finding any sort of inflammatory condition already, take it back, minimize it. Now, the three top, dairy, gluten, and soy. Okay, those are the ones that typically, if you pull them out and you don't see a reaction, one of those is the culprit. As I said before, dairy needs to be pulled out for 23 days. It gets into your system, the molecules are rolling around. Those suckers take 23 days to come out of fat cells, to go from a dairy product into just a plain old fat cell without any dairy products whatsoever. All right. Now, I would take those 3 out for 1 round, and then animal products. If you're an omnivore and you eat meat, poultry, fish, etc., don't take everything out. All right. Going from an omnivore diet to a vegan diet can be really overwhelming and challenging, because the 2 number 1 things that I see when someone goes vegan, you're not eating enough calories throughout the day, and the foods that you're eating do not provide you enough protein, carbohydrates, or fats. They don't provide that balance. You're missing proteins. B vitamins are usually really, really low. Vitamin D, that's another one that's really low. And what is it? Protein is a big one. You ever see a vegan who is pale? They're pale because they're not getting enough nutrients. And there are people in this world who can't eat a vegan diet because their body is rejecting it. Can they? In a realistic sense? Sure. But for whatever reason, their lifestyle, their health history, their body, genetics, whatever, it is much easier just to incorporate some animal products into their diet. For the bulk of us, red meat's the first one to get rid of. Then poultry, so you keep the fish, right? A lot of times with elimination diets, we do recommend, if you're going to go that route and you like fish, just go have some fish and make it a pescatarian diet while you're on the cleansing portion, the detailed cleansing. And that kind of leads us to our next topic, is detoxification, cleansing, and elimination. I wanted to make sure to mention this because there are a lot of people out there promoting cleanses and detoxes and fasting, and well, there are benefits for everything that we do. A lot of the actual programs have come about through religious practices or through healing traditions, things of that nature. If you do not do it spot on, you are in danger, okay? It can be really detrimental to your health and life-threatening at some point. The thing that people lose track of is what they're talking about is a very drastic cleansing experience. Your liver detoxifies and cleanses every single day. You don't have to go drastic. And that's kind of been my message across the board for many, many years. You don't have to go drastic. You can take a step back, you can dial it back, and you can take a slow process. You don't have to do the AIP and the whole 30 or anything along those lines. You can still get to the same end, just a little bit differently, and maybe enjoy yourself along the way. Instead of going through and pulling the Band-Aid off and having what may feel to you like torture. For some of us, pulling the Band-Aid isn't an option, but society makes us feel guilty. It puts all this pressure on us, and I'm telling you right now, your body, your choice, period. I always say your body, your health, your choice. Because it is. I want to empower you to start making decisions for yourself, regardless of what's going on in society, regardless of what Joe Schmo down the street or Jane Smith down this side, regardless of what they have been through, regardless of what works for them. I'm not saying don't try it, but if you're dealing with something drastic like an inflammatory condition, intolerances, allergies, and sensitivities, you need to stop for a minute, get a view of what's happening, and then make a decision of what your next step is. Because if you step in the wrong direction, okay, A, it take you longer to heal, and B, it could actually make things worse. So instead of saying, oh, this worked for her, let me go this way. Oh no, that didn't work for me. Let me try this with this person. That'll work. Let's go here. Let's go here. Constantly redirecting like that, your body doesn't know which angle is up. It doesn't know what you're doing. So it actually creates more stress, which increases the problem and the trauma and the inflammation of the condition you're dealing with, or the issues you're dealing with, and sensitivities. And you're masking at this point. Because if your body feels like it is in too traumatic of a state, okay, and your body works slow, it does not work fast, okay, unless it feels like you're starving and you're in danger. Then all of a sudden it's like, oh wait, we gotta do this, let's hold on to everything. When it's time to relax and tell it that you're safe, it takes some time for it to get that message. And because of this, if you do that whole yo-yo diet hopping, right, trying to find a solution, it's human nature. We all do this, okay? It is human nature to just have to find something that works. I just have to, because I just can't do this anymore. That's how it feels. And you're just trying to find a solution and something to help you feel better. But it's not hopping, because when you hop, your body starts masking. And now you don't know what's going on. So it sounds like a lot of work to sit and figure out what you're eating, how your body is responding, and pay attention to every little thing. But remember, you're only doing this for a few weeks. You're not going to live a short life. You're going to live till you're 80, 100, whatever. So take that time and figure it out, because ultimately, that whole commonality of, oh my God, you have to give up this, and this, and this, and you can't ever eat it again. Not the case. It is not the case. There are ways to figure out what you're responding to. And a lot of times, because, like we talked about in the beginning, because you ate this, your body feels like it's too close to this. And that is triggering inflammation. And once you clean the slate, you come back to neutral. I always call it a refresh. We're resetting your body, refreshing those signals. We are coming back to neutral. And from neutral, we are going to figure out what your body's really responding to. That means that a lot of those foods that you're having issues with, you're not really having issues because of that food. You're having issues because of other reasons. Preservatives on it or in it because, you know, it's a combination of this versus this. Your body feels like it had too much of it, so it just starts storing. It triggers a response. Or your body is just so inflamed, it doesn't know which end is up, and it's just responding to random food left and right. That is way more common than you think. Way more common. I have an 80-20 rule. Now, if you've been in this world for any length of time, you know the 80-20 rule is a rule that a lot of people follow across the board. I always talk hydration and plant-based diet, right? Plant-based diet effectively is 80% of your diet. It comes from plants. It comes from the earth. As you're going through and you're trying to figure out what restrictions you need or don't need and what's happening with your body, coming to a place where your diet is 80% plant-based, or at least 80%, means you're filling your body with food that is cleansing, that is easy for your liver to digest and detoxify. And you're fueling your body with sources of food that are highly, densely nutritious. Okay, especially if we're talking superfoods. So things like spinach, cruciferous food, and blueberries, antioxidants, acai berries, things like that, goji, noni, all the random berries in the world. Those are superfoods. If you're fueling your body with a lot of those as well, A, they're delicious, and B, you're fueling your body with food that can help your body cleanse and digest and metabolize things that you may enjoy that you don't necessarily respond to when it's only 20% of your diet. So food restrictions doesn't have to be this evil, horrible thing. I'm going to give you a challenge, a homework assignment, so you can kind of see how our taste buds in our body work when we're talking restriction and food allergies, okay? I want you to take your favorite food, the food that you eat all the time because it's your favorite, you don't want to give it up, you're like, you have to have it multiple times a day. Take that food, dish it for 3 days, just 3 days. You can, 72 hours, you can do this. And then put it back in. When you do that, I want you to tell me how it tasted. Did it taste better? Was it more flavorful? Was it less flavorful? Just like our nose. So when you smell something for too long, our nose, our scent shuts off. Taste buds are the same way. You taste something too often, too frequently, your taste buds turn off for that food. So a lot of times when we're eating our favorite foods, it's the memory that is giving us that flavor. Take it out for 3 days, put it back in. The aha moment is huge. And I love witnessing it. So that's your homework for this week. Go out, look at what you eat all the time that is your favorite, pull it out. 3 days, 72 hours, you got this. And then put it back in. I really do want to hear what you say, or what your response is, how it turned out. All right, so I think we've talked enough about all this. Hopefully you have a better understanding of why food restrictions don't have to actually be the case, and why they don't necessarily need to be permanent. Allergies. Sorry, guys. This really is allergies. So look at food restrictions. Look at what's happening. Don't look at it as it's an evil, horrible thing. Look at it like, all right, I'm going to have to do this temporarily. I need to figure out what's happening. Figure out what my body is responding to, not responding to, and how I need to work with my body as a whole unit. Mind, body, spirit. We need to connect with our body. We need to really take care of ourselves and understand our bio-individuality so that we can fuel ourselves better, so that the conditions that we are dealing with that elicits the dysfunction aren't as impactful in our life, and we can go back to doing the things that we love. We can have energy, we can sleep better. That 3 p.m. slump that a lot of people deal with can become a memory. You can be active. There's so much, and you can feel full. You can feel like you are properly fueled versus I can't eat X because I will respond. So that means I can't eat anything. Not true. So not true. Take a look at what you're eating. Make sure to write down everything that happens. Your hair gets greasy too soon. When you sit down, your back hurts. It doesn't matter. You write down everything for a good 3 to 5 days, and then you look back and you look for patterns. That will tell you where to start. And like I said, just because you're responding to it right now does not mean it is a food that you respond to. It just means that for right now, your body is in a state where that food is triggering a reaction. So shift your thinking, do your homework, let me know how it goes. I will chat with you guys next week. Go be healthy. Bye, y'all.